Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom.
On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Mike is sitting down solo this time, I know, can you believe it, with Mr. Dan Talley. And Dan is a veteran of the U.S. Army as well as the National Guard. He served a full career in the U.S. military and then wound up retiring. But he has a very unique backstory. One of the things that drew me into wanting to sit down with Dan here is the fact that he and his son deployed downrange at the same time, which I can't even imagine, being a father of my own. But he has a wonderful story. They wrote a book called The Stand, which is a collection basically of therapy sessions as well as different stories, which of course we love a good story here on Cigars and Sea Stories. So it's a true honor to have on Mr. Dan Talley. Welcome to Cigars and Sea Stories.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, absolutely. You have a very interesting backstory here. When did you join the Army?
I actually joined the National Guard first in 1986, January of 86.
Wow.
Then we went on active duty in 89, came back to Mississippi mid-95.
Jeez Louise.
So, and then stayed in the National Guard from that point till I was medically retired about 2-3 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. My Lord. So you did Desert Shield, Desert Storm. What else in the early 90s?
That's right. And I did, with the 82nd Airborne, I did Desert Shield, Desert Storm, then worked in support of Just Cause in Panama and Haitian Vacation, we called it when I was up there. But then got out of there, came back to the National Guard and said, well, okay, I'm going to stay in the Guard. We never go anywhere anyway. And ended up in Iraq in 2005. And then my son dropped out of college and went with me to Afghanistan in 2010.
That's crazy. So, okay. Any other any other parent who is outside of the military right now is going like, wow. You know, A, how could you allow it? And B, what did your wife immediately think?
Oh yeah. I mean, my son Sam, he was born at Fort Bragg 3 months before I went to Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Then turn around and 20 years later, here we are. He calls my wife while I'm training up and getting ready to go and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm gonna drop out of college, join the Guard, and go with Dad." She said she knew she couldn't talk him out of it because we're one of those families, I guess, but. She had a tough time with it. I mean, he and I were going over there, and she was back here taking care of my daughter alone, and it's tough on a military spouse. But when you have two of them go at the same time, it's double your money, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness you're together, huh?
Yeah, that was one thing. His best friend since kindergarten went with us as well, and. He no pressure, but he told me, yeah, and my mom will feel good that I'm going with you. I'm like, great, no pressure to bring him home or anything,
right? God, yeah. No, so how did it wind up working out? What was your billet, and then because there were new boots, right? Or what do you guys call them? Privates?
Privates, yeah. They were brand new privates. Yeah, I was platoon sergeant for 1st Platoon, and so we got the two of them put into 2nd Platoon, so they weren't directly under me for most of the time. Yeah. And as combat engineers, we went over there to do route clearance, go out, find the bombs, and hopefully you find them before they find you. Right. And
you weren't doing an admin job. You weren't, no offense to the admin guys, but Mama back home is going, oh yeah, they're, my husband and my son find bombs and blow them up, and it's whatever.
Yeah. And you tell her, well, we're gonna have the best trucks they can give you. I don't care, honey. You're still finding bombs.
Right. And they intend for them to blow up.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's what they're made for.
Right. So. Dear Lord. So you're with the 150th Combat Engineer Battalion, right?
Well, that's who I went with in 2005. And in 2010, we went with the 287th Engineers out of the Mississippi Army National Guard.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the route clearance guys, my hat's off to you, I gotta say, because in 05 I was in Ramadi, and again in 07, but more so in 05, we had the Buffalo with the big lights.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like, these guys, why? You know what I mean? You know?
We were out one day and some special forces guys were playing, and they asked for a ride back to the base, and I said, okay, you can get in my front roller truck. Well, the roller truck tries to blow the bombs up if we don't find them. And they said, no, that's okay. So, when Special Forces says, I don't want to ride with you, you might have a stressful job,
Yep. Oh, goodness. Yeah, we used to push. We would screen, essentially, in and around all the back streets, and we would break up and go split section, So you'd see 2 Humvees rolling around that corner, and then 2 Humvees over here, and then a couple of dismounts over there, and push Overwatch, and boom, and controlled deaths that are too close, so you get shrapnel like landing on the hood. It's like raining down on the hood. Just so good. So good. My gunner started dancing in the turret one time because he got some hot lead that just hit him perfect, like right where you get brass. You know what I mean? When you're on the range, it starts dancing around, and that was when we were wearing camis in the truck. Thank God. So he had his, he pulls his blouse out. Whoa! Ha! Yeah! Yeah. Mm.
You never know, man. You never know.
See, and we were always the guys who sat on cordon. We wouldn't just sit there. We'd move around and stuff. Yeah. But it was like, thank God that they blew off the arm of the buffalo, okay? And it's not a person, I get that. But Jesus, you're wasting the night waiting for these guys to change out the arm on the buffalo.
It's terrible. I mean, we're the slowest thing on the battlefield, so we're going to get hit.
Right. It's cool, though. It's got to be unique. Have you ever been up front, like behind the windshield, and then you see it, you just kind of scrape a little bit away and actually see that ordnance sitting underneath of the surface? Like, ooh, I got one.
Yeah. We did. My platoon dealt with 32 different IEDs and we found half, and half of them found us. So, in my son's platoon, they had close to the same.
Wow, Jesus. Yeah, Dagger ops weren't no joke. That's what we called them. I don't know.
Dagger ops.
Yeah.
In 05, our combat engineer unit was just, we landed on the ground and they did the little Catholic priest cross over us and said, okay, congratulations, you're infantry. There's your area of operation. And we went over there and, we dealt with some IEDs, but we didn't have any of the Gucci toys,
Right.
So we got blown up a few times and lost some folks and that kind of thing, as everybody has. But for the most part, we were kicking the doors and trying to find the bad guys too. So we've had a little bit of all of it.
Right. No, God, that's fantastic. And you said that your son encountered nearly as many IEDs with his platoon. So you guys, would you ever run joint operations together to where you're like, hey, I know Sam's over there?
Oh yeah. We, one day they were taking a loop and they were going somewhere. You know how it is over there. When you're going to go somewhere, when you're going somewhere, you're going to get something. Something's going to happen, right?
That feeling.
Every time we go here, it happens. So we're going to do something today. So they're going through one of those areas, and I took my platoon, and we were nearby. We were about within 8 or 10 clicks for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Assistance with recovery and stuff, and they got a vehicle blown into 3 pieces. And
you broke up there a bit. What? What were you saying there? I'm sorry. They were nearby, and then
we were nearby. They had a vehicle blown into 3 pieces. So we took our tractor trailer, cleared our route, went down, helped them recover, and by the time we got done with the whole thing, I sent my son with some other folks to search one end of the garage. There was a little gas station. And every time somebody's sitting on the front porch of that gas station, somebody's getting blown up. that's just the way it was. If nobody was there, it's a happy day. You just go about your business. So we searched the gas station after the debt and found ammonium nitrate fertilizer, which they're not allowed to have. So
Right.
and on this particular day, my son and I helped recover from an IED. We detained 2 individuals and took them in. One of those went on up to division and theater level because he knew some stuff. So yeah, proud day for a father.
Yeah. Nice.
Of course, the day he got hit with an RPG and disabled, sitting in a kill sack of an ambush, and I was 3 miles away on my way there. That was kind of stressful.
Jesus. So what? So okay, so his Vic was hit by an RPG.
Yes.
What was his position when he was in the vehicle?
He was the rear truck. He was the gunner in the rear truck. No,
He was
he was driving the rear truck that day.
driving.
That's right. He was driving the rear truck, and in this particular area, they like to hit you from behind with their ambush, which means that there's probably an IED in front of you because they're going to push you into it and then have you pinned down.
Right.
They're clearing south for a Afghan supply patrol behind them. We're clearing north on the same route, and we're about 3 clicks south of them. And I hear my gunner say, "Oop, there it go." And sure enough, it started. We see the rounds going, and we hear everything, and they're up there sitting in the middle of it. But,
Right.
that's when, as a platoon sergeant, I had to decide, okay, do I forego this route clearance stuff and get up there to help, or do we continue to clear the route? Well, 2 weeks before that, a friend of mine, his gunner was killed when a truck was hit by a 300-pounder in that same area, and it flipped their RG. So for me to forego route clearance and rush to my son's aid would have put my men at greater risk than they needed to be. So we had to just ease forward at 3 to 5 kilometers per hour, hearing everything that was going on. And of course, you got multiple radios, so I'm listening to everything they're saying up there and what's happening. So that was a bit of a stressful day. By the time we got up to where they were, they had I'm doing quotes with my fingers, broken contact, and were towing my son's truck. So
Yeah.
he waves at me as he comes by, like we're back here in Mississippi, just saying hi to each other on our way to work or something.
Right.
Bullet dings on his window and on his door and everything. And hey, Dad, how you doing, man?
Right. Oh God.
So, yeah, we didn't call home and tell the wife about that one right away.
No, good call. Yeah, an RPG 7-round hitting your truck. Yeah, that'd ring your bell. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, by the grace of God, it came up underneath them, so it took out a lot of their air and everything. So brakes were locked up and couldn't move. But the bottom of the RGs, they can take a hit. So we didn't lose anybody that day.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because you know how it is on the bottom of a Humvee. I mean, there's nothing.
Oh, no. We had Humvees in 2005, and I mean, you get a 155 round underneath one, and it's a bad day for a lot of folks.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, we were going through the Serpentine one time, and I was a lead truck driver, so I always had to look for victim actuated, right? Like pressure switches and stuff like that, because they do the saw blades with the styrofoam.
Yeah.
And God, we were hanging out near the Gov Center in Hermati, and you take a right out the backside, and there's this road that just kind of serpentines through, and then it opens up. You can kind of make your way out into the open terrain, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And you know how you just see the flash of something, and then you're like slamming on the brakes. I mean,
yeah,
I've done that more than once. You're like 2 feet, just whoa, everybody's standing up. Your gunner's eating spades if he's like name tape deflated and stuff. Yeah. And I started backing up, and I'm like, that's a pressure switch. I don't know, but that's bigger than 155 over there. And this is, it was my first tour, and
Yeah.
I was just, dear God, what the hell is that? And my vehicle commander's like, all right, it's fine. We've got EOD with us, but I don't think your boot ass understands what you're talking about. It might be a pressure switch. That's fine, but we'll see what's in there. You know what I mean? They pulled out 3 160s.
Wow.
So we saw only the top, and then they had basically dug enough. Now, this is on the backside. Basically, there was a blind spot, and they fixed this.
Yeah.
Right, later on. But there was a blind spot to where it blew a significant chunk into the wall, of our position. So, I mean, they got it close enough with 3 160s, probably in the middle of the night or something like that.
Yep.
My goodness, 3 160s, the whole truck could be gone.
Yep.
My Lord. Yeah. That ordinance, man, I'm telling you.
There's some creative suckers over there.
There are. We found IEDs. I couldn't make this up if I tried. We found an IED in the middle of Central where they put a 155 shell down the leg of a human being. Like, they chopped off a guy's leg and they shoved the 155 shell down on there. And the very first question that all of us had is there a shoe on the leg?
Yeah. My son went north in Paktia and was leading an Afghan patrol out into to play with the locals. You know how it is. Mm-hmm. And they had started putting the IEDs, hanging mortar rounds in the trees because they knew dismounts were coming.
Right. Well, and they could hit the gunner also.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
bastards.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Were they the Chinese jobs, the 82s?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That they'd wrap them with like deck cord and shit. Like, oh yeah, it'll blow up.
Oh yeah.
We found one. The only reason why we actually found this one was because, and he knew we shouldn't be doing this, but there was a pomegranate tree, and fresh pomegranates are so damn good.
Oh yeah.
And the gunner reaches up into this pomegranate tree, bows down the branch, in order to pick this fresh fruit, and just ping as it goes up. He looks over to the right and he's like, "Holy shit!" and just drops right down into the turret.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is.
Yep.
Bam. Call for EOD. Like 12 hours later.
Right.
Yeah.
We did a trip one day in Afghanistan. We had 5 or 6 IEDs, I don't remember, and 2 or 3 ticks. Troops in contact if they're civilians listening. And it's about midnight, 1:00 in the morning at this point. And my dozer had dismounted because we were doing route sanitation as we went. Mm-hmm. And he pivots in the road and calls up, "Hey, Bishop 19, I think I'm sitting on an IED." When he pivoted, his tracks dug up the IED underneath him. And he's sitting on top of it. So he's like, what do I do? EOD came over and got it, and then when he pivoted, he disconnected the pressure plate from it. So that worked out good, but turned out to be a pretty elaborate one. They actually had some aluminum and such mixed in that one. It had a real good pop when it went off.
Jesus.
But yeah, that day we had 5 or 6 IEDs and 3 ticks. The next day, coming back through the same route, we had either 5 or 6. We had 11 in those 2 days. Yeah. And another 4 ticks. So that was fun.
And where were you in Afghanistan?
In the Paktia province, southeast of Bagram Airfield, up in the mountains. We were within 50 meters of the Pakistan border several times.
Gotcha.
So, up in the hills.
Yeah. Well, it's always unique talking to Army because you know how it is. They slice up our AO. Mm-hmm. To where it's like Marines for the most part. We were going to Helmand. Like that's where I did my Afghan time. I was there March till October 2011.
Yeah.
But I was Kajaki Sangan within the Helmand area.
Okay. Okay.
And
You got that right after we left. We came home in March of 11.
oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it's interesting because the battlefield. Well, first of all, you know this. Iraq and Afghanistan are two entirely different wars.
Yes.
Wholly different.
Yes.
But the northern AO and the eastern AO and the southern AO of Afghanistan
Are equally different.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't spend any
Yeah.
time out in like Cornwall or up your way or anything else like that.
Right. Right.
I just, in talking
Well,
to
you had plenty to do where you were.
right.
From everything I heard, anyway.
Right. Right. Well, and you hear it from the contractors and any of the company guys or whatever, and you're just like, hey, what's happening, you know, across the AO, just across the entire battle space. And some of the stories, you know, different engagements, different TTPs and everything else. And you're just like, wow, man, that's entirely different. And they're like, oh yeah, no, you guys are fighting 3 or 4 different wars simultaneously, just here in Afghanistan. Iraq, totally different.
Yep.
Totally different. Which even in Iraq, we saw the desert once. That was to do a range recon. Other than that, I was in the city of Ramadi the entire time.
Yeah. See, so in 05, we lived in the desert. We were west, 35 miles southwest of Baghdad in Anbar province, off the Euphrates River, west of the Euphrates River. And it was desert the whole time.
Yeah.
Going to town for us was the little villages along the edge of the Euphrates. You know, we didn't have the urban combat like you guys faced.
Yeah. See, and every once in a while, I'm looking out at those vignettes like, you know, I could get the hell out of here. Like, maybe we could switch, you know?
Yeah. Can we trade places for a while? You guys come down here. Let me go up there for a little bit.
Yeah. Just a little bit. We were talking about this on another episode because, you know, we're kind of dorks for history. A lot of service members are, I'm sure.
Right.
And I remember thinking to myself in Iraq, I'm like, could we just push pause on this? I want to go check out like the rest of Mesopotamia. You know?
Yeah. Can I go see the Babylonian ruins real quick?
Right.
Right. You know, give me R&R. Just a few days. That's all I need.
Right. I swear I'll come back.
Yeah, I promise.
It's totally, we're gonna be fine. I'll bring a Camelback. I'll leave my gun here. I mean, we'll figure it out. Yeah,
that'd be all right.
That was my thing, even in Afghanistan. You know, I don't know about you, but I was very intrigued by Afghanistan and the culture and the fact that it was never conquered and all of these other different things. I mean, they are a very unique and resilient people. You know?
Yeah, and you keep hearing the stories from locals about that over there on that hilltop is one of Alexander's fortresses that was built when he was coming through this way, or you know, all kinds of stuff going on out there, and you don't get a chance to learn very much of it, you know. But you know, you got to stop when there's a kid on the side of the road and you've seen him 15 times and he's always wearing a Winnie the Pooh outfit. Sooner or later, you got to stop and take a picture with him, you know.
Right.
I mean, you just have to.
Oh, goodness. Yes.
You never know. All kinds of weird stuff pops up.
Oh, goodness, yes. Well, I thought it was funny because Iraq, for the most part, especially in Ramadi, it was almost like they took all of our Salvation Army goods and just kind of littered Iraq with it. You know, it's like Fila gear from circa 1980. You know, it's like what's going on here? You know, they got the tracksuits and different stuff like that, which I thought was crazy. And then in Afghanistan, I mean, I was embedded in Kajaki, right? And they had the traditional, you know, they had the dishdasha and the like linen trousers and stuff like that. The one size fits all with the adjustable waistband. I've got a pair. You know, I've got the shamag and the pair, the legit plus, and then the elders have like the ornate wraps and everything else. Like Afghanistan is much more traditional.
Yes. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Which makes perfect sense because you're fighting the Taliban, but you know.
Right. Yeah. 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 They're the conservative side, if you will.
Well, and it's interesting also because. Well, you know how this is. I mean, 85% of the country is illiterate. Right. So how do you communicate with those folks? And, of course, you've got to learn a little bit of Pashtun, which if you know Pashtun, you might as well be a Pashtun, you know, as far as they're concerned. But It's funny because you communicate with these folks, they're almost ancients. I mean, it's crazy when you talk to them because they can communicate everything to you. It's just whether or not they want to give you the right intel.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And then they always say, well, Allah willing.
Right. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Yeah.
That was my favorite one to use.
Yeah, that's your way of saying I did it, but I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
Or whatever.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
We had a avalanche up north, and we went up there to deal with mayors and all of these kinds of folks. And when you're at 9,000 feet and you're full battle rattle, you jump out of your RG and you got to hump up a hill another 500 feet.
Yeah.
You get to breathing pretty dang heavy, right?
Yeah.
Well, these folks are like mountain goats. I mean, we're walking up this hill and we stop every now and then and try and do a MacArthur pose and act like we're looking around to catch our breath, and they're laughing and walking up in sandals or dress shoes or whatever, and they're not breathing hard at all. My commander looked over and said, look, you put all this shit on and try it.
Right. Oh, goodness.
But they're so different. They were determined that there was this dragon that had a diamond in his mouth. And if you caught the dragon, you could bring Hitler back. That's why the Nazis came there way back when. And that's who caused the avalanche. The dragon did it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go figure, right? Go figure. Of course, we got Bigfoot, so we can't,
Yeah, we shouldn't be casting stones.
Yeah. Everybody's got something.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. That's too funny. For me, whenever I saw the Afghans traveling about and stuff like that, primarily they would be on those scooters. They weren't a moped. They were like one step up.
Right.
We
wanted to be a motorcycle, but we're not yet.
Right, exactly. It's like they almost all needed training wheels.
They were everywhere.
Oh, all over the place. Well,
Yeah.
and they could fit like 8 people on them.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the same in India. I went to India a few years ago, and you get your whole family and the goat and the cow on one of those things. That's crazy.
Oh, goodness. Those and the jingle trucks.
Yep.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to. I try to explain this to people. I'm like, you don't understand. These trucks, they stack them so high, they definitely would not be able to go under like an overpass on the highway.
No, never.
And they're trying to put 2 and 2 together. Like, wait a minute, no, the laws of physics don't allow that. And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Do you remember the Grinch Who Stole Christmas?
Yeah, sooner or later it's going to tip, man.
Right,
come on. And you're driving on a dirt road.
Right. And they're called jingle trucks because they have like prayer bells all over them and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, to keep the evil spirits or demons and stuff away, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And we go through our mountain pass. There were 2 passes in our area. One of them led over to more of Afghanistan to the south. The other one went over to Paktia, out of Paktia and into Pakistan. Mm-hmm. And you go through as a route clearance group, and you're doing 50, 75, 100 clicks that day, doing 3 to 5 kilometers an hour. You end up with a lot of traffic behind you.
Right.
And we'd have 100, 150, 200 of these jingle trucks and cabs and everybody else, and they're just honking their horns and yelling and cussing. And we get to the other end, and I'd sit down and have lunch and let everybody go by before I turn around and come back,
Right. Yeah.
But dang, you think people drive crazy here. You get 150, 200 of those folks backed up behind you, and then all of a sudden you park, get out of the way, and say, all right, go for it.
Right.
Oh, it was hilarious. Hilarious. Everybody's trying to outrun somebody else, and motorcycles are weaving in between jingle trucks, and you're like, you better hope. You better hope. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yep. Oh, good Lord. It's just a bizarre place to be.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta love it.
But, you have good times, too.
Right.
I mean, we landed in Bagram, and 2 of my team leaders, coming back from Chow, I spot 2 of my team leaders and some of their troops sitting in the smoking area, staring at the porta-johns. Well, anytime my guys are sitting still, you know how it is. You know something's going on. All right, they're all looking in the same direction. Somebody either did something or is about to.
Right.
So I go over to see what's up, and come to find out, the third country nationals that were cleaning the latrines and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't sit on the toilet seat, right?
Right.
They squatted over it.
Right. Yeah.
And their aim is not the best.
No.
All the time. So one of those team leaders had sat down in the middle of the night out there and found somebody missed. And he was not happy about it. So he went out there and smeared baby oil on both sides of the toilet seat. Not on the toilet seat itself, but on both sides, right?
Right.
And they're all sitting there waiting for one of those guys to come over and use the latrine. I said, man, you got to be kidding me. He said, yeah, it's probably not going to happen again, but we are hoping. I said, again? He said, last night about 3 a.m, I heard this blang, 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 blang. But by the time I got out here, all I could see is little blue footsteps going off over yonder. So you have a good time a lot of times, but of course, half the people that listen to this podcast will probably be like, you're just sick.
Nope, not our listeners. They're shaking their heads right along with us.
Good. Good. Well, it doesn't matter if they think that anyway, because, I probably am.
Right. We're all a little
twisted.
Yeah. Hell yes, man. That's fantastic. Yeah, for those listeners who are out there, make sure that you're checking out dantalley.org. That's DANTALLEY, just like, Penny does the EY. He's got an EY also. Do people misspell that all the time? TALLY instead of EY?
They do, and I'm like, I'm not an accountant. Okay?
Right?
I don't count stuff.
And I'm not a coin. I'm not a coin. Yeah, and maybe I'm a department store owner. You don't know?
Right. There you go.
Hey.
Yeah. J.C. Penier.
No relation. I didn't see a dime. I know.
I hear you.
Ba-doom boom, a penny with a dime. Anyway, all right. So dantalley.org. And also make sure that you're picking up the book. The title of the book is The Stand, right? I mean, it's on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Noble too, isn't it?
Yeah, on Amazon or Barnes and Noble, and it gives the perspectives of a deployment from father, son, mother, daughter. My 9-year-old daughter at the time has things in there, so it's an eye opener in a lot of ways.
Yeah, God, that's interesting. There's a couple of passages that I was allowed to read on here as far as the interview prep was concerned, and yeah, it's interesting stuff to say the least. So pick up a copy time now. We will have those links up on there, so be sure to check out cigarsandseastories.com/podcast, and that's where you can actually find this episode page with all of the full show notes. We put a lot more detail on the actual website than we do out at the aggregator. So make sure that you are checking out the website for any of those additional links that we're talking about on the air. And that's where you'll find them. Also, Dan, you're on what? You're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you got an Instagram or anything else?
LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Go to the website and you'll find some way to get a hold of me.
Nice. Brilliant. Yep. Gotta love it. Folks, if you haven't already done so, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM. Thank you so much to our sponsor, veteranslist.us, as well as Spartan Media, who helped us out. He's a fellow Marine 03. Jeremy, we got to get you on the show, brother. As far as building websites, Spartan Media is top notch. Also, huge thank you to our network, Heroes Media Group. And if you haven't already checked it out, Heroes Media Group is all veteran-led podcasts, led by a veteran. Hey, veterans helping veterans. Who thunk it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dan Talley, thank you so much for joining us on Cigars and Sea Stories. This is great. Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, you keep adding value to the world. Folks, listen, subscribe, rate, review, give us your comments. All right. Thanks so much for listening in to another episode of Cigars and Sea Stories. And on that note, we cue the music.
To every breeze, from dawn to setting sun.